The dinner rush had just begun at the Silver Spoon, one of the city's most elegant restaurants. The lights glowed softly against the marble walls, jazz music floated through the air, and the scent of roasted garlic and buttered steak filled every corner. At table 7, a couple argued, quietly at first, then loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. From behind the counter, Lila, the shy waitress, tried not to stare. She was used to wealthy couples fighting. It usually ended with someone storming out and someone else pretending to care. But this was different. The man, Ethan Grant, young, striking, wearing a white shirt that screamed money and a watch that probably cost more than Lila's car, sat stiffly, trying to stay calm. The woman across from him, his fiancée, had had enough. "You care more about your business than you do about me," she hissed, slamming her napkin on the table. "That's not true," Ethan said quietly, though his jaw tightened. "You didn't even notice I cut my hair." Ethan blinked. "It's shorter." That was the last straw. The woman grabbed her purse and stood. "You'll never change, Ethan. Good luck impressing your investors alone." She walked out, heels clicking sharply, leaving behind silence and a few raised eyebrows. From behind the counter, Lila pretended to polish a glass. She didn't mean to stare, but she felt a twinge of sympathy. She didn't know this man, but being publicly humiliated. "That had to sting, Lila," her manager whispered. "Table 7's going to need you. Be quick and be polite." She sighed softly. "Got it." Lila approached the table. Ethan sat motionless, staring at his untouched food. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Would you like me to pack that to go, sir?" He looked up slowly, eyes the color of winter steel meeting hers. For a second, Lila froze. His gaze wasn't cruel or arrogant like many rich men she'd served. It was tired, human. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lila, sir." "Lila," he repeated thoughtfully. "You look honest." That caught her off guard. "Thank you, I think." He gave a small, almost broken smile. "I need a favor, and before you say no, it'll be worth your while." She blinked. "A favor?" He leaned forward, voice low. "In about 10 minutes, my investors will walk through that door. They expect to meet my wife." "She just left." Lila frowned, not sure if she heard correctly. "Your wife?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, so here's my offer. Pretend to be my wife for one night, when I'll pay you $1,000. The glass in her hand almost slipped. She stared at him like he'd spoken another language. "You're joking, right?" "I wish I were." Her heart pounded. $1,000. That was 2 months of rent, or the medicine her mother needed. But still, this was insane. "Sir, I'm just a waitress. I don't—" "Exactly," he interrupted. "You're not part of this world. You're real. That's what I need right now." Lila looked around. The other staff were pretending not to notice, though curiosity filled their eyes. Her manager gave her a subtle nod from across the room, whispering with his eyes, "Do it." "You'll be paid up front," Ethan added, his voice steady. "All you have to do is smile, stand beside me and say as little as possible." Her palms felt sweaty. It sounded simple. But her gut screamed this could only end badly. I don't think I can," she stammered. "What if they find out? What if—" He sighed and rubbed his temples. "Then I'll take the blame. Please, Lila, just one night. I need this deal." She hesitated, staring at his trembling hands, the hands of a man used to control, now desperate, and for a second she saw herself exhausted. Cornered by life, trying to survive, finally. She drew in a deep breath and said something that made Ethan's jaw drop. "If I'm going to pretend to be your wife, Mr. Grant," she said softly but firmly, "then for tonight, you'll treat me like one, not like your employee." Ethan stared, stunned. Then slowly a faint, genuine smile appeared. "Deal." But little did either of them know that one impulsive deal would change both their lives forever. Before we find out what happens when a shy waitress steps into a billionaire's world, hit that subscribe button. Because this simple one-night favor is about to turn into the most unexpected love story you'll ever hear. The restaurant's private room glowed with golden light as waiters rushed to prepare for the arriving investors. Lila stood frozen near the corner, her mind racing. Was she really about to pretend to be someone's wife? A billionaire's wife, no less? She stared down at her plain work uniform, white shirt, black pants, and a small name tag that read Lila. Definitely not CEO wife material. Ethan was pacing near the table, adjusting his cufflinks, the picture of calm on the outside but radiating quiet panic underneath. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. He stopped and looked at her. "Not even a little." Lila let out a nervous laugh. "That makes 2 of us." Moments later, Ethan's personal assistant, a sharp woman named Marianne, rushed in holding a black evening dress. "Mr. Grant," she said briskly, "I found this in the wardrobe we keep for emergencies. It should fit." You keep emergency dresses? Lila asked, eyes wide. For photo shoots, Marianne replied flatly. Then a small smile. Don't worry. You'll be fine. Ethan turned away, giving Lila space. Go change. We don't have much time. A few minutes later, when she stepped out, the room seemed to pause. Lila stood in front of him, her hair softly curled, the sleek black dress fitting her perfectly. She looked elegant, unsure, yet breathtakingly real. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. Hope you clean up well. Lila raised an eyebrow. You make it sound like I was dirty before. He chuckled, the first genuine laugh of the night. Sorry, bad phrasing. For the first time, the ice between them began to melt. The doors opened and 3 suited men and 2 women entered, laughter echoing through the hall. Ethan's demeanor instantly changed. Confident, composed, every inch the CEO. Gentlemen, ladies, I'm glad you could make it. He extended a hand, then gently placed the other around Lila's waist. This is my wife, Lila. Her heart thudded as she forced a calm smile. It's so nice to meet you. The investors greeted her warmly, impressed. One of them, Mr. Carlyle, a shrewd older man, smiled approvingly. Ethan, you didn't tell us your wife was this charming. Lila blushed. He doesn't tell people much about me. Ethan shot her a quick sideways glance, a mix of surprise and amusement. She was good. Dinner went smoother than either of them expected. Lila listened quietly at first, but soon began chiming in with thoughtful comments, things she'd overheard working in the restaurant industry. I've noticed, she said at one point, people value personal touch more than fancy menus. Maybe that's true for business too. The table nodded. Even Ethan looked impressed. That's exactly what I've been telling my marketing team, he said smoothly. She grinned slightly. Guess great minds think alike, Mr. Grant. It's Ethan, he corrected under his breath. That one word, Ethan, felt strangely intimate. Halfway through dinner, Lila realized she was actually enjoying herself. Ethan wasn't as cold as he'd seemed. When he smiled, genuinely smiled, there was warmth in his eyes. At one point she accidentally dropped her fork and he quickly bent to pick it up. Careful, he murmured. For you're supposed to look graceful, remember? Graceful's overrated, she whispered back. I'm real. He smiled again, quietly this time. That's exactly why I needed you tonight. At a nearby table sat Victor Lang, Ethan's rival, another CEO known for his arrogance and cunning. He had been observing the couple for a while, his eyes narrowing. When Ethan excused himself to take a phone call, Victor leaned toward Lila. So, Mrs. Grant, is it? He said smoothly. Funny, I don't recall seeing you at last year's charity gala. Her throat went dry. Oh, I don't. Attend many public events. Interesting. And yet you seem so familiar. His smile was sharp, his tone probing. Lila forced a polite laugh. Maybe you've seen me serving your table once or twice. Victor's smirk widened. Oh, I think I might have. Before he could say more, Ethan returned, reading the tension immediately. He placed a protective hand on Lila's back. Victor, Ethan said coolly, I see you've met my wife. Victor leaned back, smirking. Oh yes, quite fascinating company. Later that night, after the investors left satisfied, Ethan and Lila sat together in silence. The air felt lighter, calmer, yet filled with something unspoken. You were incredible tonight, he said quietly. She smiled faintly. I just said what felt right. That's what made it work. She looked down at her hands. So is it over now? The deal? He hesitated. Not quite. There's a follow-up event tomorrow night. A gala, Lila blinked. You mean I have to keep pretending? Just for one more night, he said softly. After that, you'll never have to see me again. I promise. Something in his tone, had almost regretful, made her chest tighten. All right, she said after a long pause. But if we're doing this, we do it my way. Your way? No lies to me, no tricks. You tell me everything before I walk into that room. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time he nodded like he truly meant it. Deal, Mrs. Grant. She smirked slightly. Don't get used to calling me that. As Lila walked out of the restaurant that night, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. A message flashed on the screen. Does he know who you really are? Her heart skipped. She looked around, but no one was there. Someone was watching. And tomorrow night might be the night she gets exposed. Lila thought pretending to be a billionaire's wife was the hardest part. But what's waiting for her next could destroy everything. Stay tuned for Module 3 and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens when secrets start to unravel. The next evening arrived faster than Lila expected. She stood before her small apartment mirror, holding a borrowed evening gown in one hand and her phone in the other. That mystery message still stared at her from the screen. Does he know who you really are? No name. No number. Just that. She tried to shake it off, and probably a prank, she told herself. But deep down she knew someone must have seen her last night, and knew she didn't belong in Ethan Grant's world. The ballroom of the Royal Monarch Hotel glimmered with chandeliers and champagne. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed, and expensive perfumes mixed in the air like a storm of luxury. Ethan arrived first, sharp in a black tuxedo, every bit the confident CEO. When he saw Lila walk in, radiant, nervous but stunning, he momentarily forgot to breathe. "Shall you clean up even better than yesterday?" he said softly. She smiled shyly. "That's 2 compliments in 2 days, Mr. Grant. You might be becoming nice." "Don't tell anyone," he teased. "I have a reputation to maintain." They both laughed, for a moment, forgetting everything else. But not everyone was smiling. Across the room, Victor Lang, Ethan's rival, watched them closely. He whispered to his assistant, "Find out everything you can about her. Name, address, job, tonight." Lila caught his gaze and quickly looked away. A chill ran down her spine. Ethan noticed her unease. "Ignore him," he murmured. "He's been trying to rattle me for years." "He's succeeding," she whispered. Ethan chuckled softly. "Don't worry, you've got this." But his confident smile couldn't hide the concern in his eyes. As the music slowed, couples began to take the floor. Ethan extended his hand. "Dance with me? I thought I was supposed to say as little as possible, remember? I changed my mind." She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. The world seemed to fade. The lights softened, the crowd blurred, and for a few moments it wasn't about pretending. It was just 2 people moving together, silently understanding something words couldn't express. Ethan leaned closer. "You're a natural at this." "I'm terrified," she whispered back. "Then you're doing a great job hiding it." She smiled, but just then a flash of a camera startled her. Someone was taking pictures. She turned her head and saw Victor's assistant lowering a phone. After the dance, Ethan stepped away to greet some guests. Lila moved toward the refreshment table, trying to calm her nerves. Victor appeared beside her like a shadow. "Enjoying your evening, Mrs. Grant?" Lila forced a polite smile. "Very much, thank you." "You know," Victor said, sipping his drink, "I have a feeling this charade won't last much longer." Her pulse quickened. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Oh, I think you do." He leaned closer. "You're not exactly the type that belongs in a room like this, are you?" Lila straightened her back. "I belong wherever I decide to stand," Victor smirked. "Strong words, but I wonder how Ethan will feel when he finds out who you really are." Before she could respond, Ethan returned. "Victor, I'd say it's good to see you, but I'd be lying. You always were good at pretending," Victor said smoothly. Then, with a pointed glance at Lila, "Both of you." He walked away, leaving a trail of cold tension behind him. Later, in the quiet corner of the ballroom, Ethan turned to her. "What was that about?" "Nothing," Lila said quickly. "Lila," he said gently but firmly, "I can tell when someone's hiding something." She sighed. "He's just trying to scare me. That's all." Ethan frowned. "Did he say something specific?" "He said—" She hesitated. "He said I don't belong here." Ethan's expression softened. "Neither do half the people here. The difference is you're not pretending for greed." She smiled faintly. "Funny. I thought pretending was the only reason I'm here. Maybe at first," he said quietly. "But now, I'm not so sure." Their eyes met, a beat too long, too heavy. By the end of the night, whispers were spreading among the guests. Who is she? Where did she come from? Is she really his wife? Lila could feel every stare burn against her back. Ethan noticed too, and decided to end the evening early. "Come on," he said quietly. "We're leaving." In the car, silence filled the air. The city lights flickered through the windows like shards of truth waiting to break. "Ethan," she said softly, "maybe it's time to tell them the truth." "If I do," he said, voice tight, "I'll lose the deal and you'll be dragged through the mud. Victor won't stop until you're humiliated." "So we keep lying?" He looked at her. "Just until the contract's signed." She nodded slowly. "All right, but lies don't stay buried forever." That night, back in her apartment, Lila's phone buzzed again. Another message. This time a picture of her from the restaurant serving tables in her apron, and the caption, "Tomorrow, everyone will know." Her stomach dropped. She gripped the phone so tightly her hands shook. Someone had found out. and they were ready to expose her. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the restaurant before it opened. He looked exhausted but determined. "We need to talk," he said. Lila handed him her phone. "It's already happening. Someone's threatening to expose me." He looked at the screen, his jaw tightening. "Victor." She swallowed hard. "What do we do now?" Ethan looked up, eyes fierce. "We fight back. Someone's playing a dangerous game, and this time the secret might not just ruin a deal, it could destroy 2 lives. Stay tuned for Module 4, where the truth, the lies, and the emotions all come crashing down. The following morning, Ethan sat in his office overlooking the city skyline. His phone buzzed non-stop, calls from investors, gossip outlets, and his PR team. Something had leaked. Photos of him and Lila from the gala were spreading online. Headlines read, "Mystery Woman with CEO Ethan Grant, Secret Marriage or Publicity Stunt?" He scrolled through the comments, people speculating, mocking, guessing. And there, buried in the chaos, one comment froze his blood. "That woman isn't his wife, she's a waitress at the Silver Spoon restaurant." Meanwhile, at the same restaurant, Lila sat at a corner table, pale and shaking. Her manager had just called her into the office. "Lila," he said carefully, "you've been trending on social media. Customers are already asking if it's true." She buried her face in her hands. "This was a mistake. I should have never agreed. Look, I don't know what you got yourself into, but if this turns into bad press, the owners will have no choice but to fire me," she finished for him quietly. He nodded apologetically. "I'm sorry." She stood up, holding back tears. "No, I get it. It's not your fault." She grabbed her bag and left, her heart heavy. The one thing she couldn't afford, losing her job, had just happened. That evening, as rain began to fall, a black car pulled up beside her on the street. Ethan stepped out holding an umbrella. "Lila," he called out, "get in. You'll get soaked." "Why?" she said bitterly. "To pretend everything's fine again?" He sighed. "Please, just get in. We need to talk." Reluctantly, she slid into the car. The silence was thick. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen," Ethan began. "Victor leaked those photos. He's using them to destroy my credibility." Lila turned to him, eyes flashing. "And me as collateral damage?" "No, I swear, you swore this would be for one night," she interrupted, her voice trembling. "Then it became 2, then a gala. And now everyone knows me as some liar pretending to be your wife." Ethan's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "I'll fix this." "You can't fix reputation, Ethan. You of all people should know that." They arrived at his penthouse. She didn't even realize where they were until he opened the door. Inside, on a massive screen, a news anchor was speaking. "Sources confirm that Ethan Grant's so-called wife is not who she claims to be. In fact, she was working as a waitress until just days ago." Lila covered her mouth. The room seemed to spin. "Turn it off," she whispered. Ethan did. Silence filled the space again. "They're humiliating me," she said, tears finally spilling. "Do you have any idea how that feels?" He turned to her, pained, helpless. "I do now." "No, you don't. You'll move on, make another deal, find another woman who fits your world. But me, I'll never get my job back. I'll never walk into a room without hearing people whisper." She started toward the door, but Ethan caught her wrist, not forcefully but enough to stop her. "Then let me help you," he pleaded. "I owe you that much." She pulled her hand free. "You can't buy my dignity back, Ethan." The next day, Ethan got a call from Victor. "Enjoying your little scandal?" Victor said mockingly. "You went too far," Ethan growled. "Oh, please. You played with fire, my friend. Now the investors want answers. There's a gala dinner tonight. I'd suggest you show up with your wife. It's time to come clean. You're setting me up." "No," Victor said smoothly. "You did that yourself." He hung up. Ethan sat back, knowing there was no escape. If he didn't attend, rumors would destroy his reputation. If he did, Victor would expose everything in front of the entire business elite. Either way, someone would lose. That evening, Ethan showed up at Lila's small apartment. She opened the door, surprise etched across her face. "Ethan, I know you hate me right now," he said quietly. "But Victor's hosting another gala tonight. He's planning to expose you, publicly." She crossed her arms. "Then let him. Lila, if he ruins you, I'll never forgive myself." She laughed bitterly. "Why do you even care? Wasn't this all just business?" He hesitated. "At first, yes, but not anymore." Her breath caught. "Then tell me something," she whispered. "Was anything you said real? Or was I just a convenient distraction?" Ethan stepped closer. "The way you looked at me that first night, like I wasn't a monster, That was real. The way you stood up to those investors, that was real. You made me feel human again. She looked away, her heart racing. You're saying all the right things. Just too late. Then let me prove it, he said softly. Come with me tonight. Not as my fake wife. As yourself. Lila stared at him for a long moment, her mind spinning. Every part of her wanted to walk away, but something in his eyes made her stay. Fine, she said finally. But if we go down telling the truth. Agreed. The ballroom was buzzing again. Victor was already there, smirking, surrounded by cameras and investors. When Ethan and Lila walked in, murmurs spread instantly. Victor clapped his hands dramatically. Well, look who decided to show up. The perfect couple. Ethan kept his head high. We're not here to hide, Victor. Good, Victor said smoothly, stepping toward the stage. Because everyone deserves to hear the truth. He tapped his glass. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to the real Mrs. Grant, or should I say Miss Lila Harper, former waitress at the Silver Spoon restaurant. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed. Lila froze. But before the humiliation could sink in, Ethan took the microphone. He's right, Ethan said calmly. She is a waitress. And she's also the only honest person in this entire room. Gasps rippled. Victor's smile faltered. Ethan continued, voice steady. While Victor was busy sabotaging me, Lila was the one who uncovered evidence of his fraud. Evidence I'll be sharing with the press tonight. A shocked silence fell. Victor's smug grin vanished. Security guards stepped in as Victor began shouting, denying everything. Reporters rushed forward. Cameras turned from Lila to Ethan. From accusation to admiration, Ethan looked at her, voice soft but firm. No more pretending, Lila. You deserve to stand here as yourself. She blinked back tears. And you deserve someone who doesn't need to pretend to love you. The words hung in the air, honest, heartbreaking. As the crowd erupted, Victor was escorted out in handcuffs, shouting empty threats. But for Ethan and Lila, the real question remained. What happens after the truth? The lies are gone, the truth is out. But when the masks fall, hearts are left exposed. Stay tuned for Module 5, the climax where justice, love and fate all collide in one unforgettable moment. The ballroom was chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Flashes stung like lightning, and security dragged Victor toward the exit while he spat curses that no one cared to record. Ethan turned to Lila amid the roar. It's over, he whispered. She shook her head. Not yet. Within the hour, Ethan's legal team uploaded the proof, documents, forged contracts, and recordings of Victor's schemes to every major business outlet. The story trended globally. CEO Ethan Grant exposes partner's multi-million-dollar fraud with help from a waitress. For the first time, Lila's name wasn't used to mock her. It was attached to the word hero. Still, she couldn't celebrate. Ethan, this doesn't fix what I lost, she said quietly. Then tell me what will, he replied. My life back. My dignity. A chance to be seen for who I am, not who you needed me to be. He nodded slowly. Then that's what we'll do. The next morning, a press conference was called outside Grant Corporation. Cameras pointed, microphones crowded. Ethan stood at the podium, but this time Lila stood beside him. Last week I asked someone extraordinary to pretend to be my wife, he began. I did it for business. But she ended up teaching me more about honesty and courage than any deal ever has. Gasps rippled. She didn't deserve the lies, the headlines, or the hate. So if anyone owes an apology, it's me. He stepped aside, giving her the mic. Lila hesitated. The crowd waited. I was a waitress, she said simply. Still am in many ways. But I also stood up for the truth when it mattered. That's what everyone deserves. A chance to be heard no matter where they come from. The applause was hesitant at first. Then it grew wave after wave until cameras caught something rare. Sincerity. That night, Ethan found her on the restaurant's rooftop, where it all began. The city lights shimmered below. You did it, he said softly. We did, she corrected. But this doesn't mean I'm suddenly moving into your world, he smiled. I'm not asking you to. Maybe I should try living in yours for a change. She laughed through tears. You'd last a day, maybe. Challenge accepted. A new cafe opened downtown. Lila and Cubban inside, customers filled the cozy space. On the wall hung a framed newspaper headline. Waitress who stood up to billionaire, now CEO of her own dream. Ethan walked in wearing rolled-up sleeves, no suit, no cameras. He carried 2 coffees. For the boss, he said with a grin. You mean the investor who made you mop the floor last week? Exactly, they laughed. As the morning sun poured through the windows, Ethan reached into his pocket. No ring this time, just a folded napkin. On it he'd written, Dinner tonight? No pretending, just us. Lila smiled, eyes soft. Now that's a deal I can live with. From a fake promise to a real partnership. From lies to love. Sometimes the richest thing a billionaire can find isn't profit, but peace. The city moved on faster than anyone expected. Headlines shifted, stock tickers changed, and people found new scandals to gossip about. But for two people, everything had already changed forever. The smell of roasted coffee beans filled the air. The morning rush had just begun. Laughter, clinking mugs, and the sound of fresh dreams being brewed. Behind the counter, Lila poured cappuccino foam into a perfect heart. Next order, caramel latte for Ethan. Ethan Grant, billionaire, former CEO, now part-time barista and full-time trouble, grinned as he took the cup. "Have you misspelled my name again?" "No," she said, smirking. "That's how I spell trouble." The customers nearby chuckled. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. Later, when the cafe quieted, Ethan leaned on the counter. "You know," he said, "my board still wants me back. They're offering a partnership deal if I return." "And?" she asked. And I said no. I told them I'm busy learning how to make espresso without burning it. She looked at him, surprised. "You're serious?" "Completely. You taught me that money fixes nothing if your life's empty." Lila smiled softly. "Then maybe you're finally rich," he nodded. "Rich enough to buy this place from you someday. You try that and I'll triple the price." The doorbell chimed. To their surprise, Victor Lang stepped in. Clean suit, somber eyes, no entourage. The cafe went quiet. Ethan's jaw tightened. "You have a lot of nerve showing up here." Victor raised a hand. "Relax, I'm not here to start anything." He turned to Lila. "You stood up to me, and I deserved every bit of what happened. I lost everything, but I guess I needed to." He reached into his pocket and placed a check on the counter. "For the staff you helped get rehired? I still have friends in HR. Thought I'd make something right before disappearing." Lila hesitated, then nodded slowly. "People can change if they want to." Victor gave a faint smile. "You changed him. Maybe there's hope for the rest of us, too." He walked out, leaving behind the faint echo of humility, something money couldn't buy. As evening fell, Ethan locked up the cafe. The city lights shimmered outside, reflecting softly off the glass. Lila sat by the window, sipping her tea. "You ever miss it?" she asked. "What?" "The spotlight. The power. The money." Ethan looked out at the street, the simple, honest world he'd nearly lost. Not for a second. He walked over, sat beside her, and took her hand. "You know, when I offered you that $1,000, I thought I was buying silence. Turns out I was buying a chance to listen," she smiled. "Guess it's the best investment you ever made," he chuckled. "And the only one that didn't lose value. Sometimes life doesn't give you the fairy tale. It gives you the truth." A billionaire learned humility. A waitress found her worth. And together, they discovered that love isn't about pretending. It's about showing up as who you really are. The camera pans out. Lila and Ethan laugh inside the softly lit cafe. Outside, a small sign flickers in the night breeze. No pretending. Just coffee. Just love. What would you do if someone offered you $1,000 to pretend, knowing it might change your life forever? Let us know in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Because sometimes the best stories aren't about money. They're about meaning.